the ladies in the 90s have license to cut off the pilly packers. Yep. They got license to cut your thing off, man. And this scares me.
Martin Lawrence was at the peak of his career in 1994. His sitcom was huge. His comedy specials were selling millions. Then came one night that changed everything. During his SNL monologue, he said something so controversial that NBC executives wanted to cut to commercial immediately. Some cast members walked off set. Within 72 hours, he was blacklisted from the biggest network on television. They even edited his words out of all future reruns. The line that destroyed his career was only 10 seconds long. What did he say that was so bad it ended his relationship with an entire network forever? In the early 1990s, Martin Lawrence was everywhere. Loud, fast, and completely uncensored, he didn't just show up in the comedy world, he exploded into it. In 1992, he became the first host of HBO's Def Comedy Jam. And from the second he stepped on that stage, everything changed. He didn't care about censors. He didn't hold back. He roasted people in the front row, shouted wild truths about sex and dating, and made the crowd howl with laughter every single week. He wasn't just a host. He was the energy of the whole show. And through that show, he helped launch other raw talents like Bernie Mac and Chris Tucker. Def Jam was edgy, raw, and real, and it made Martin a star almost overnight. That same year, just as The Cosby Show ended, Martin launched his own sitcom on Fox. It was called Martin, and it hit like a punch. He played Martin Payne, a cocky radio DJ from Detroit who was always stirring up drama, and sometimes even played his own supporting characters. From the first season in 1992, the show pulled in around 11 million viewers. Fox knew what they had. By 1994, Martin was getting paid $100,000 per episode. He was one of the highest paid stars on TV, and everything he touched seemed to catch fire. He was edgy enough for the streets and funny enough for prime time. Studios started to wonder if he might be the guy to bring the raw cable humor of Def Jam into the world of mainstream comedy. People said he could do what no one else had done: mix late-night danger with network safety. And still, even while starring in one of the biggest sitcoms in the country, Martin kept doing stand-up. In 1993, he dropped a stand-up album called Live Talkin' Shit. It came with a big black and white parental advisory label slapped across the cover, and for good reason. Martin didn't hold back. He joked about everything: sex, relationships, body odor, even blaming women who didn't keep it fresh. It was the same wild style he'd built his name on, and fans loved it. He wasn't trying to make anyone comfortable. He was telling it how it was. That same year, he started filming a stand-up movie called You So Crazy, and in early 1994, it came out. It was so raw that the MPAA slapped it with an NC-17 rating, a rare move for a comedy. The film had so much sexual content and strong language that they wouldn't give it an R unless he cut it. Martin refused. "I took an NC-17 just so I can say what I wanted to say," he later said. That attitude, stubborn, proud, unfiltered, was what defined him. It wasn't an act. That was Martin. He wasn't just performing a role. His comedy came from something real. Martin was born on April 16, 1965, on a U.S. Army base in Frankfurt, West Germany. His parents named him after Martin Luther King Jr. and John F. Kennedy, two symbols of bold leadership. That mix of vision and fire would follow him. After the family moved to Maryland, Martin grew up in a rough neighborhood. He was small and scrappy, always getting into fights. He ran with the wrong crowd sometimes, had a few run-ins with the law, things like shoplifting and disorderly conduct in the late 80s. But his mom and older brothers kept him grounded. Most of my childhood friends ended up in jail. he later said. He knew it could have been him too, but he didn't just survive that life, he used it. He turned it into stories. His pain and chaos became punchlines. That's what gave his comedy teeth. He joked about his own flaws, the anger, the relationship drama, even the arrests. And if he could laugh at himself, you better believe he'd laugh at you too. By the start of 1994, Martin was at the top. He had a top-rated sitcom, a concert film with an NC-17 badge of honor, and the reputation of being the most fearless comic in America. That February, NBC decided to bring him on to host Saturday Night Live. It was a big move. SNL had been struggling with ratings. In 1992 to 93, they averaged an 8.7 Nielsen rating. By the next season, it had dropped to 6.9. Newer shows like In Living Color were stealing their thunder. The producers wanted someone fresh, someone risky. They saw Martin as the perfect shot of energy. He was raw, but he had also proven he could clean it up when needed. In the past year, he had done The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Late Night with David Letterman, The Arsenio Hall Show, and Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He kept it clean enough for TV, and those appearances had gone off without a hitch. Jay Leno even said, "He's funny, and people want to see him again." NBC thought he could bring some of that energy to SNL, but they were nervous too. Just 1 week before Martin's episode, SNL had already caught heat. On February 12, 1994, Alec Baldwin did a sketch called Canteen Boy with Adam Sandler. It showed a scoutmaster licking a young camper's fingers, and a lot of viewers weren't laughing. The Boy Scouts of America filed complaints, and NBC was feeling the pressure. So when Martin showed up to host the February 19th episode, everyone was on edge. Even though he'd been smooth on talk shows, this was live. There was no editing, no delays long enough to fix a mistake. That whole week, tensions built. From Monday to Friday, Martin sat in with the writers, pitched ideas, and made it clear that he didn't want to be watered down. He told them he wanted to do real talk in his monologue, especially about women and relationships. The writers tried to steer him toward safer topics, maybe some jokes about his sitcom or light-hearted stuff. One of the show's main writers, Jim Downey, suggested he stick to material about his success or current events, but Martin pushed back. He said the fans wanted him to be real, and real meant raw. By midweek, it was obvious Martin wasn't sticking to the script. During rehearsals, he started ad-libbing, slipping in jokes that hadn't been approved. That set off alarms. Lorne Michaels, the creator of SNL, reminded him again and again, "Stick to the cards, no improv. This is a live show." Even one unscripted line could throw off the tight 90-minute schedule. They had a short broadcast delay system, but it wasn't foolproof. To calm everyone down, NBC gathered about 50 representatives from local stations and showed them a toned-down run-through of Martin's monologue. During that preview, Martin mostly behaved, but still couldn't resist. He snuck in a crack about women needing Tic Tacs to freshen up. That joke wasn't in the script. It wasn't even dirty compared to his usual material. But it was enough to make Lorne give him one last warning. If he went off script on live TV, they would cut it, and there would be consequences. It didn't start on live TV. It started backstage, hours before the cameras rolled on February 19th, 1994. That Saturday night, during the final dress rehearsal of Saturday Night Live, Martin Lawrence ran through his monologue in front of a small studio crowd. It was supposed to be a safe version. That's what NBC wanted. But as Martin started talking, he veered off script. He started riffing about women's hygiene, joking that some need to wash properly down there. A few laughs came from the crowd, but just as many winced. It was exactly the kind of thing producers had warned him not to say. As soon as he stepped off stage, Standards and Practices staff surrounded him. They told him flat out, cut that part. NBC didn't want to deal with the FCC. They feared viewer complaints, fines, and affiliate fallout. Martin nodded, gave polite replies, but inside he was fuming. He didn't see it as offensive. He thought it was honest, raw, and real. That's what he believed he was hired to bring. To him, removing it meant censoring his truth. Phil Hartman was shaken. He'd been on SNL for years, always professional, and he felt Martin had broken trust. In an interview later, Hartman said Martin promised to keep it clean, and then did the opposite. We prepped clean material, and he goes and does that. Other cast members weren't necessarily offended by the joke itself. They were just afraid NBC might shut down their sketches if the monologue went off the rails. Lead writer Jim Downey tried to intervene. He pulled Martin aside the day before and said, "Why not do jokes about your show?" Talk about Martin. The audience would love that. Martin wouldn't budge. "Watering down my truth," he called it. He said, this is who he was. This is what got him there. The tension grew. In the script and cue cards, the monologue was scrubbed clean. But crew members backstage heard Martin grumbling. He said NBC didn't get him. He said they were scared of a black man telling the truth on national TV. Even Tim Meadows and Ellen Cleghorn, black cast members, had tried to reason with him. They knew the kind of humor he did. They weren't offended by it, but they knew the stakes. Martin saw it as a fight, his voice against their rules. Lorne Michaels felt it. Normally calm, Michaels was pacing. He quietly told the director to be ready. If it went bad, they might have to cut to commercial. The technical crew added a longer tape delay, maybe 7 seconds, just in case they needed to mute something fast. In a last-minute meeting, about 50 NBC affiliate station managers were shown a pre-recorded, approved version of the monologue to calm nerves. Even then, Martin ad-libbed a joke about women needing a tic-tac if they didn't shower. The affiliate reps were stone-faced. Lorne was livid. Still, Martin said he understood. He'd follow the cue cards, but no one really believed him. Minutes before the show went live, backstage was divided. Some cast members gave him high fives. Others stayed far away. Julia Sweeney and Johnny-Ain Garofalo weren't smiling. Sweeney pleaded with him not to do those jokes. "Please don't," she said. Martin smiled and brushed her off. Garofalo didn't mince words. She told him it was sexist. Martin fired back that comedy doesn't make exceptions. Nobody is safe. The hallway went cold. At 11:30 p.m., the show opened with a goofy Flintstones parody. Chris Farley, in an orange caveman outfit, got some early laughs. Then came the voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Lawrence." He walked out in a checkered flannel shirt, jeans, a t-shirt, sneakers, and gold chain. He looked a little tense. He started soft. He said it was a dream come true. He joked about hosting on a Saturday, even poked fun at his own show. The crowd laughed. The control room relaxed for a second. Then came the ad-lib. "Man, it's cold as hell in New York," he said. "Some of y'all came in here smelling like wet everything." It got a laugh, but that line wasn't on the cards. He moved on to a joke about Lorena Bobbitt. That bit was approved. The crowd exploded with laughter when he mimed a man waking up and realizing his pilly packer was gone. "At least leave it on the pillow like a mint," he said. Even Lorne cracked a smile. So far, so good. But then he looked at the crowd and not at the cue cards. He took off the flannel shirt. The crew noticed. That was the sign. He was about to do it. "As a single man," he began, "something hurts me." He said he was meeting women, and then he said it. "Some of you are not washing your ass properly." It landed like a bomb. The crowd gasped. Some laughed, others sat frozen. Backstage went dead silent. During the commercial break, no one spoke. Phil Hartman stormed off. "He just killed this show," he said. slamming his script. He apologized to younger cast members like Adam Sandler. Lorne Michaels left the control room, headset off, shouting. "How did we let that happen?" he barked. He immediately ordered the monologue never air uncut again. Plans were made to fix the West Coast rebroadcast. Future reruns would be trimmed. Lorne blamed himself. "We knew he might do it, and we didn't stop it." Julia Sweeney was near tears. She found Martin in his dressing room. "That was horrible," she told him. Martin, still buzzing, just shrugged. It was just jokes. Garofalo wasn't done either. She told him he'd set women back 50 years. He snapped back. The argument lasted minutes. Then she walked off, shaking her head. The rest of the show stumbled along. Sound engineers lowered the audience mics. The next sketch with Martin and Hartman had less energy. Norm Macdonald, during Weekend Update, joked that Martin's bit made his OJ jokes look like Sesame Street. The phones at NBC lit up. By the next morning, 627 calls had been logged. Only 3 were positive. Viewers were furious. Many called it vulgar, disgusting, locker room trash. Newspapers ran headlines like SNL hosts rant sparks outrage. Local NBC stations had to apologize on air. One Texas station aired a message before the late news saying they regretted the material. Procter & Gamble pulled their ads. Other sponsors threatened to follow. NBC promised future warnings before SNL episodes. Martin's own sitcom on Fox dropped 10% in ratings that week. Some said it was fallout. Others blamed the competition. The show kept going. But Martin's image took a hit. Talk radio had a field day. Howard Stern actually defended him. "A truth teller," Stern said. NBC should give him a show about hygiene. Feminist groups didn't laugh. The National Organization for Women called it harassment, not humor. NBC owes women an apology, they said. SNL had always flirted with the edge, but this time felt different. It felt personal. The last sketch of the night landed with a thud. The crowd had checked out. At the very end, Martin came back on stage for the closing. He shouted, "Thank you!" But most cast members stood away from him. Some avoided eye contact. When the cameras shut off, people scattered. A few nodded to him. Most just left. 3 days after Martin Lawrence stepped off that Saturday Night Live stage in 1994, NBC made a decision that would shake his career. On February 22nd, the network's West Coast president, Don Ohlmeyer, sent out a sharp internal memo. It didn't just criticize Martin's monologue, it blacklisted him. The memo leaked almost immediately, and word spread fast. Ohlmeyer said Martin had promised not to do anything unapproved on SNL, and then went ahead and did exactly that. The ban wasn't just about SNL. NBC decided Martin wouldn't appear on any of their shows. That included The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, where Martin was already booked for March 9th. NBC canceled the appearance. Jay Leno wasn't happy. His team pushed back. They said Martin had always been a great guest. A Tonight Show rep even told reporters that Jay believed if a guest was booked, they should honor it. But NBC overruled him. They made it clear it wasn't Leno's choice. It was theirs. They even made that public. A rare move that showed how seriously the network took this. Behind the scenes, NBC's other big name, entertainment president Warren Littlefield, backed the decision. Some say he personally sent Martin a letter informing him of the ban. Whether or not he did, the message was loud and clear. Martin Lawrence wasn't welcome at NBC anymore. Not on SNL, not on late night, not even for cameos or game shows. NBC didn't stop there. Ohlmeyer also sent an apology letter to all of NBC's local stations. He described the monologue, talked about the jokes on oral sex, yeast infections, and John Wayne Bobbitt, and said it was completely inappropriate. He told affiliates that those parts had been edited out of the West Coast feed. He also promised the network was figuring out ways to stop something like this from happening again. Maybe adding longer delays or tighter vetting. In reality, SNL didn't change much, but they did stop booking edgy stand-ups like Martin for a while. On March 1st, 1994, Martin released a statement through his publicist. It wasn't quite an apology. It didn't say he was sorry for what he said. Instead, he said he never meant to insult anyone. He said he wasn't a malicious person, just a comedian trying to make people laugh. He called it everyday humor. The statement was carefully written to make him look bold, not cruel. But some people thought it wasn't enough. Critics said it felt like he dodged responsibility. Fans didn't mind. They knew Martin for his wild stand-up routines. They loved how raw he was. And when the ban hit, they leaned in closer. VHS sales of his stand-up movie, You So Crazy, actually went up. People wanted to see what the fuss was about. Suddenly, even those who had never watched him before were asking, who is Martin Lawrence? A week later, the Los Angeles Times ran a piece called Martin Lawrence, Dr. Dirt or Mr. Clean? In that interview, Martin didn't hold back. I feel good, he laughed. I'm getting all this publicity, and I didn't even hurt anybody. He said he hadn't done anything wrong and didn't owe anyone an apology. He saw himself as a comic, not a criminal. His fans weren't shocked by what he said on SNL. They were used to it. That's why they showed up. Still, Martin admitted maybe he had misjudged the room. He said the people at the show told him to have fun and do his thing, so that's what he did. But he didn't stop there. He called out what he saw as a double standard. He brought up Alec Baldwin's Scoutmaster sketch, something many found disturbing. Martin asked why that was allowed, but his jokes weren't. He said if people could watch a douche commercial, they could handle what he said. It wasn't about the subject. It was about who was saying it. Privately, Martin was shaken. He expected some blowback, maybe even wanted it, but he hadn't expected this. An entire network banning him? That stung. He had a hit show on Fox. He had movies lined up. And now, suddenly, people were whispering. Some networks and brands hesitated when his name came up. They didn't want the drama. One Night had flipped the script. From rising star to problem child, from guest lists to blacklists. The ban wasn't official. It was never written in stone. But everyone in the business knew. Martin Lawrence had crossed a line. Whether he deserved it or not, his path had changed, and yet he kept going. His audience stayed loyal. His name got bigger. His edge didn't disappear. If anything, it cut deeper. The night that nearly ended everything also made him more famous. He joked about it later. He leaned into the chaos, and the more the industry pulled back, the more his fans pulled him forward. By 1994, Martin Lawrence had already carved his name into comedy as someone raw, bold, and fearless. He'd starred in his own show, released stand-up specials that made crowds roar, and stood on stages like he was born there. But then came that one night at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. A single monologue on Saturday Night Live that would follow him for the rest of his life. It wasn't a sketch. It wasn't planned. And it wasn't something NBC would ever allow again. That night, Martin stepped onto the SNL stage and did what he always did. He told the truth as he saw it, pushed the limits, and didn't hold back. But he didn't just break the rules. He lit them on fire. It was supposed to be just another SNL opening. He walked out, crowd cheering, cameras rolling, and then, about halfway through, he veered into a wild graphic rant about feminine hygiene. The words weren't just unexpected. They stunned the crew, the audience, and even NBC executives watching from monitors backstage. The air in the room changed. Producers froze. Phones rang. But Martin kept going. By the end of the monologue, some people were laughing, others were wide-eyed, and a few were wondering if the show would even finish that night. NBC had never dealt with something quite like this. They'd had trouble before. Elvis Costello had been banned for playing the wrong song. The punk band Fear had trashed the set on live TV, and Steven Seagal had been blacklisted for being too hard to work with. But none of those were about what someone said. This was different. This was about taste, timing, and what could or couldn't be said on network TV. The day after, Martin Lawrence was banned from SNL, and that ban still holds. Years passed, and the incident took on a strange kind of legend. NBC never re-aired the full monologue. Instead, whenever reruns played, they inserted a formal disclaimer, read in the driest voice possible by SNL writer Jim Downey. It sounded like something from a corporate HR handbook. The text said Martin had offered a frank and lively presentation on what he believed was a serious problem with modern hygiene standards. It ended with the line, "It was a frank and lively presentation and nearly cost us all our jobs." That sentence became iconic. Bootleg VHS tapes of the original monologue passed around in secret. But for most fans, the disclaimer was the monologue. It was awkward, it was absurd, and somehow it became funny in its own way. The moment didn't just stay on SNL, it seeped into pop culture. The Simpsons once aired an episode in 1995 where Krusty the Clown's show is interrupted by a disclaimer in the exact same tone. It wasn't about hygiene, but the structure mirrored SNL's cover-up of Martin's moment. It was an inside joke for people who remembered, and lots of people did. When Rolling Stone ranked the worst SNL hosts ever, Martin made the list. They called the routine gross, long, and sexist. He was put alongside other infamous hosts like Milton Berle, who bombed in 1979 by going off script and ending with a dramatic song that no one asked for, and Adrian Brody, who was banned after throwing on dreadlocks and doing a fake patois to introduce Sean Paul in 2003. But Martin's case was always the one people remembered the most. It wasn't about a bad sketch or a cringy moment. It was about someone hijacking live TV and saying exactly what they wanted, for better or worse. By the time SNL neared its 50th anniversary in 2025, the Lawrence incident had become part of the show's deep lore. Retrospectives listed it as one of the top controversies, often alongside Sinead O'Connor tearing up the Pope's photo, or Ashley Simpson's lip-sync disaster. During the anniversary special, Maya Rudolph joked about it on stage during a sketch, saying, "Thank you, Martin Lawrence, for pushing our hygiene talks forward awkwardly." The crowd laughed. Even Lorne Michaels cracked a smile. It had been 31 years. For Martin himself, that night became part of his legend. In interviews, he often shrugs it off, calling it the wildest night in show business. He admits it hurt at the time, made him a public relations headache, but it also gave him a badge of honor. He became known as someone who couldn't be censored. Some people even say he was ahead of his time. These days, comedians on Netflix and podcasts talk about anything. No censors, no apologies. Martin just did it too early. Back when network TV still had lines you couldn't cross. The ban never lifted. Tracy Morgan once said he tried to get SNL to bring Martin back for a one-time gig in the 2010s. It never happened. Maybe Lorne still didn't want it. Maybe Martin didn't care. When asked if he'd ever return, Martin just said he would, but only if he could do it his way, ad-libs and all. Whether he meant it or not didn't really matter. By then, the moment had grown bigger than him.